Alrighty, so welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Jen and I'm here with
Sarah.
This is Joyce.
Hi Joyce, welcome. We have some other participants, so here's someone else signing on. Hello, yeah, so feel free to mute your video if you do not want to be seen. That's perfectly fine. And also if you could mute your volume as we get started. We're going to unmute you guys for questions and for some feedback, but just to reduce any background noise, that would be great. Let's see. So I think we can do that. Hello, welcome. Okay. So I think, Sarah, we can also do spotlight video. So when it's your turn, I can do that. So you're the focus.
Yeah, okay.
All right, and then I can do that. So
Nice.
Okay, cool. All right, so welcome and thank you guys for joining us. We are here to share this space tonight to really come together. It's the spring equinox, and we thought that it would be a really great opportunity. Sarah and I have just been talking about sharing this space with other women and, coming together with like-minded intention and, having a space where we can unwind and relax and talk about self-care and what even gets in the way of self-care and, more about what it means to practice self-care and feminine energy. And I'll just tell a little bit about myself and then I'll switch it over to Sarah. I am a inspirational mentor. I do e-courses and I am an abstract artist, and I'm also trained as a therapist here in New Jersey. And so I love to combine art and healing and all sorts of good stuff in regards to just personal growth based on my own recovery and the experiences that I've gone through. And so what I'm sharing with you guys tonight is a lot of the healing perspectives and, discussing some practices that I personally use on a daily basis. And for me, it's often about the mindset that goes along with the practice. So I'm looking forward to sharing that more with you guys. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarah so she can let us know all about her.
Hi. Thank you, Jen. So my name is Sarah, and I'm so excited about this. I'm sorry my background is not as beautiful as Jen's. My daughter's taking a bath upstairs. She's going to be 3 tomorrow, and I was going to go in my studio because it's all nice and colorful, but it's next to her room, and I thought she would just be so loud in the background, and I was like, I'm going to go to the basement. So I'm in the basement. It's not as colorful, but at least you can't hear her randomly or whatever. So I'm an artist and a stay-at-home mom. Those are my 2 jobs, I guess. My background is in graphic design, and then I went to graduate school to be an art therapist over 10 years ago. I didn't end up finishing, but I learned so much while I was there, and I just have a passion for art making as healing, regardless of what kind of art it is, who's doing it, or who's facilitating it. I just think it's so powerful, and I've seen it be powerful for other people. I've seen it be powerful in my life. And then as far as what we're all discussing tonight, with the bedtime rituals, I myself went through a time period in my 20s where I couldn't sleep well, and I was taking Adderall like a lot of college students and a lot of people in their 20s, and I couldn't sleep really well because I was just overstimulated all the time, and I didn't know how to relax myself. I literally had to teach myself how to relax after I got off the Adderall. And I worked at Whole Foods at the time, so I spent a lot of time in the whole body section, and I tried out all kinds of different things, and I just kept what worked. that's like the best way to do it, I think. So I'm very passionate about sleeping and and art, and of course all this amazing feminine energy that I feel like everyone can just like sense and feel much more, growing in power in the last few years, or even just the last year. So yeah, welcome, and I'll hand it back over to Jen now.
Awesome. Yeah, we've been, I don't know, I just have noticed a lot of just conversations, and, I'm not sure, why, it doesn't matter why, but just the need for women to step up, and, not just women, but I've mentioned, in some other places before this talk that, everyone has masculine and feminine energy, and that feminine energy is really this energy of receiving and of being in the flow and of listening to our bodies and listening to our hearts, listening to our spirit. And from there, we can also then take inspired action, where action is more of this masculine energy of being focused, of, taking that next step to achieve a goal. And so I know that both Sarah and I really believe that it's a balance of both these energies, and that, we're in a lack of, I think, feminine energy being more prominent in our culture. So we really wanted to come together, and have a space for anyone really who wants to connect with their feminine energy. But of course, most women identify with that. So we'll often see, majority of women in classes like this. So we're gonna sort of get into a little introduction here of what we're going to go over. So I'm just going to share my screen for you guys. And just for anyone joining a little bit late, just want to let you know again, this is recorded. So if for some reason you want to be kept anonymous, you can stop the video at the bottom and hide yourself, but you don't have to. You can show your pretty face. So, all right. Okay, so we're gonna go to the beginning here. So let me know, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So who are we? I know some of you obviously on this do know a little bit about me. For those of you who don't, my healing journey has been, I'd say, I kind of always felt connected to needing some sort of guidance based on my childhood experiences and life experiences. And in particular, over the past probably 8 to 9 years, I have been really had a main focus of taking care of myself and building awareness on how to be gentler with myself. So this is really a labor of love that I'm sharing with you, and I know it is for Sarah too. So let us continue. Okay, so just to getting started, I had mentioned to have a pen and paper. If there's any thoughts that come up, it's a great opportunity to write down any, beliefs that you might have that you might find to be limiting. I also say grab a snack if you're hungry, and you can get yourself cozy. If you want bare feet, or to light a candle or something like that, whatever you need to do to bring yourself here and now. And so let's just take a few deep breaths together to center ourselves. So we're going to inhale, and we're going to exhale. One more time, breathing in, breathing out, just letting yourself come into this moment, breathing in again and out. And as you sit here, just taking some deep breaths, I just want you to, in this moment, be willing to see things differently. If there's something, if you notice a judgment coming up, or if you notice, any sort of trying to figure out, see if you can surrender into that space of being willing to not have answers, willing to trust that we are all on this call together for a reason, willing to suspend expectation and judgment, of course, even though that will come up. We're not going to judge the judgments. And let's take 3 cleansing breaths together again, inhaling And exhaling, letting go of the day, breathing in again. Exhaling. And one more time, breathing in and breathing out. Yay, okay. So here's a little outline. We're gonna do a little more, I wouldn't say advanced, but just for a little bit longer meditation and intention setting. And I'm gonna talk about feminine energy and self-care mindsets. I know that that's gonna be interjected with what Sarah's doing too, but I have some slides to kind of just have a visual for what I'm talking about. We're gonna have a little bit of opening and stretching practice. And then we're gonna go into some more tangible self-care practices with Sarah and another meditation and hopefully some time for some Q&A. So we've got a lot of good stuff here. So starting with meditation and intention, I always like to say that awareness is always the first step. And so, we can't heal and we can't shift if we first don't see what's going on within ourselves. And the seeing is without criticism. So in my experience, a lot of my taking care of myself started with my inner critic being the one trying to take care of me. That was the one that was used to being able to do that. And so it's just a practice over time, and meditation can really help us become more aware of noticing a critical voice and instead replacing it with a gentle, observant, compassionate voice. So most of us are already in a comfortable seated position where you can lie down and rest, but we're going to close our eyes again. And I want you to just imagine that there is a beautiful white light coming in through the crown of your head, and it's moving down your body, washing over your shoulders, going down your chest and your back, over your heart and down into your pelvis, through your thighs and your legs, into your feet. And as you inhale, this light gets brighter and stronger and fills up every space and every crevice in your body. And it's such a beautiful, benign, loving energy. It can just hold the space of anything that is in the body right now. And so I want you to just notice, just do a body scan. So a body scan is when we start at one point, we can start at the top of our heads and we just kind of go down the body and we notice the temperature of our body. We notice if our muscles are tense or not tense. We might notice a weight in our body. Is there heaviness? Is there lightness? Are there sensations like tingling or movement? And we're just noticing this without judgment. We're just looking at it with curiosity. So you can just notice and move along to another space, moving down the head again into the shoulders, just being curious about what you feel down the back, down the chest, into the belly, into the lower back and the abdomen. Just noticing what you feel in the pelvis and in the hips. For women, we often hold a lot of tension in the hip area and in the abdomen. So just getting curious, feeling as you move down the legs into the feet. And then I want you to think about your intention if you were able to come up with one before this class, and if not, that's perfectly fine. This intention could be an intention for what you'd like to get out of this class. It could be your intention for the new season in spring. It could be pretty much anything. So I just want you to see if there's an intention, and see if you can repeat that intention in the present tense. So saying I am. So I am receiving exactly what I meant to hear this evening. Or I am, willing to let my feminine energy express itself in whatever way it needs to. Whatever that intention is for you. All right, so let's take one more deep breath in and out. And you can open your eyes, and if you would like to write down your intention on a piece of paper next to you, you can, and if not, that's okay. So, as I mentioned, we talked about what the difference between feminine and masculine energy is. Sarah, I don't know, do you have anything you want to add about the feminine and masculine energy? If not, that's okay, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity to share your perspective.
Sure. So I recently, honestly, kind of connected more with my feminine energy as being able to receive this, like, even just this year. I had heard, this entire concept years ago, but I didn't, like, totally understand it, and I couldn't feel it. And just the last few months, I've been able to feel it in this really new way, in the sense when I approach things, whether it's my art or mainly I see it with my art, but I think especially as a woman, I think I always thought in the workplace or wherever that I had to kind of be aggressive to, like, get to be up to task, to get things done, to get things accomplished, to be respected. And I used this, like, part of me that was just very, like, intense and, like, almost like drilling, sort of, going for it, doing it, making it happen, like, ugh. And I recently, like I said, this year, finally, like, I guess let go of that and started to do things in a way that flowed. Like, if it started to feel hard, or if it started to feel like I was having to drill, then that meant I wasn't in a position to, receive energy. And so I've started to work in that way, and it's been so much more relaxing to kind of work. If you look at the masculine energy as the yang and the feminine as the yin, yin is more restful and, soft, for lack of a better, like, way to describe it. And I didn't believe earlier in my life that, like, you could accomplish things without being, hyped up on coffee and just like, oh, I'm gonna, like, make this happen, and I'm gonna sit at my laptop for like 4 hours and make this amazing spreadsheet or whatever, and just, like, in this really intense, like, focused way. And so that's how I, like, experience and see it. And but the truth is that you still can accomplish a lot in a much more relaxed, intuitive, flowing kind of, again, not drilling, but just receiving guidance and just taking inspired action to, let it flow and go with it. And it's much, much more peaceful way for me to accomplish things.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way you described that imagery of a drill, and, like, it's just like, woo, just like, going for it. And, I've talked about this a lot, before, that, I think our culture is really kind of based on that energy, right? We talked about how it's like the masculine energy is something that it's based on, and there's nothing wrong with masculine energy. That can be really helpful. I mean, this morning I had such a strong focus. I was creating, like, a webinar, and it was like, woo, like, laser focus. But if I run on that energy, you know, all the time, I find that it burns me out. And that is sort of what we're finding, is that people who identify more with feminine energy need to make sure that there's more feminine ways of accomplishing things and of receiving, because that's where we feel comfortable. That's where we feel like ourselves. And so men or people who are more identified with masculine energy feel more comfortable in that focused place. And so it's kind of learning and listening to ourselves what, you know, feels good in the moment. And, you know, it's always kind of a fine tuning. I don't know where I heard this, but I heard that there's never actually ever true balance as long as we're in a human body, you know, that we're always kind of like just tweaking a little bit here and there. And I know for me personally, when I tap into this patience, this energy of waiting, this energy of acting from a place that feels peaceful instead of like this kind of like go mode, it's better for my overall well-being and health. And it's truly so important. I think that that's what we're kind of, you know, hoping that as more women keep connecting to this energy and we keep bringing it into the world, that we're going to see it in our systems. We're going to see it more in our families. We're going to see it more in our education. So thank you guys for being here, because we need more of this in the world. Okay, so intention setting, you know, thinking about this time as being a reawakening and a blossoming. It's a time of rebirth, which I think is very similar to where we're at right now in our culture with feminine energy. And so looking at some of the ways that get in the way of us being connected to this self-care and this self-nurturance, I'm not sure if any of you can relate to this, I'm sure many of you can, is this belief that if we, you know, rest, or if we listen to the flow, or if we're doing something and we are inspired to go out and take a walk, or, you know, get a coffee, or, you know, I'm just going to take a bath in the middle of the day, you know, there's this idea that there's something about this that's being selfish, or that we're supposed to be doing, you know, something else that's more productive. So just thinking about that, if you can relate to that. And I think there's also this belief we're used to taking care of others. And so it can feel really uncomfortable to take care of ourselves. And also a fear that others may not like it if we start to take care of ourselves more, because we may not be showing up in the same ways that we've shown up in the past. So fears of, you know, rejection or abandonment can come up when we start to take care of ourselves, which is interesting because when we're not taking care of ourselves, we're abandoning ourselves, right? So at some point, the tipping point becomes where we'll do whatever it means to take care of ourselves, because we're not going to abandon ourselves anymore. There's also this fear, I think, that can come up from our inner critic, that if we start to take care of ourselves too much, that maybe we'll become too independent. You know, we won't want to be in a relationship with other people. And that's oftentimes when we're used to giving so much, when we start to pull back, it can feel kind of extreme because it just doesn't feel normal. So those are some of the ones I could think of. Sarah, I don't know if you have any to add, or if anyone else wants to share any that they can think of. I know there's a chat box, but I'm not sure if anyone can see it. I can't see it on my screen, so.
I was going to say, I did take a bath in the middle of the day. Maybe yesterday, actually. I don't know why I can't remember, but maybe it's just like, I blame everything on mom brain, you know. But like, since I quit my job and to stay at home with my daughter, like my time is so different, because sometimes I parent like solo for over 24 hours. I mean, granted, my daughter's asleep, but like I'm getting up with her, you know, I'm putting her to bed, you know, whatever. So I don't I don't think in terms, I quit thinking in terms of like, oh, during these hours, I'm supposed to be like this. And then during these hours, this is when I can relax. You know, you just kind of like do what you can. And since, again, like in 2018 now, I've kind of already, things have shifted for me so much, even within the last 2 or 3 months, but I've been taking such better care of myself, like mentally, and not that I was taking like poor care of myself, so to speak, but I think even just like when you become a mom, there's like this unspoken kind of thing that you have to like not care about yourself anymore, like especially when the baby's really young, you know, because you're frantic, you're changing diapers, you're just like all over the place, and you might get like a mom's night out every couple months or something, but like it's helped me be such a better mom and wife, like with the house. And like I know that sounds very like 1950s or something, but like it's my like job, and I have felt at times like, oh, I can't do the laundry, or I can't do the things that need to happen around the house because I'm just too exhausted, and I can't. And I feel like, you know, just filling the well, like if I want to take a hot bath at like 11 on a Monday because my kid's at school for a few hours, like I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it at all. And I don't, but like I probably would have at some point in the past. You know, I would have thought, oh, well, I should only do that at this time because everyone else is like working right now, and I should be like, I don't know, like clean the shower or you know, something productive and useful. And even with my art, like I feel like just setting that priority of like not being afraid to like take care of myself and carve out time for myself, it's just been amazing. And like no one has come out of the woodwork to be like, look at you, like taking care of yourself all the time, like you shouldn't be so nice to yourself, or like whatever those voices in your head that tell you like, oh, I shouldn't like nourish or give myself like luxury or whatever, you know, whatever it is, like go get a massage or a facial or whatever to you is like kind of a little bit too much, you know, or maybe you want to secretly, but you don't do it enough or whatever. Like no one has come out to like accuse me of any of those kind of things.
Yeah. But somewhere along the lines, you know, those voices are there because we have learned, right, at some point to restrict ourselves. And so I just remember for the majority of my life, I didn't, I couldn't do anything for myself because I had learned to abandon myself. I mean, in order to survive, I had to be and show up for, the adults in my life who were really more like the children. And so when I was starting to understand in my 20s the kind of fallout that I had experienced from growing up in that way, I would hear, you know, self-care and, you know, you try, you know, have a cup of tea or, you know, do some deep breathing, do meditate, all these things. And I would do them. And it was almost like throwing something like at like there was like a glass, you know, and was like throwing at it and it would just like bounce back. And I mean, it took me like years and years to just slowly, thought by thought, behavior by behavior, be nice to myself because I learned to not take care of me. And so, you know, I think that, not only was that family related, but I do think that in our culture, we were talking about this earlier in, you know, one of my groups, just even the structure of that 9-to-5 job, right? And the way that we only have access, you know, if we were in a format like that, you know, you're even given like, this is the days you can have off. This is the days, you know, that it's okay to, you know, take off for XYZ. And, you know, it's helpful to have organization, right? Like I have this PowerPoint, you know, I don't even often do that, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the masculine energy of like having some organization. But the mind and the body and the spirit don't live in a box, and neither do our emotions. And, you know, the more we try to box our emotions in, the more they are trying to get out. So it's finding that balance of being able to be centered and aware of what we're feeling and not have it take over, and yet at the same time honor that and make our emotions and our spirit and our hearts just as important, if not more so, than the outside.
Well, one last thing to just add to that. I heard somewhere it's like when you're on an airplane and they tell you to put the mask over yourself before you put it on someone else. Mm-hmm. Like that, I feel like that's the only time, in like our culture where someone's really telling you directly to like take care of yourself first, But it's true. It's true. Like you have to like put your mask on first,
Right. And you're like, wait, no, why would I do that?
I have to put on everyone else's mask first.
Yeah. It's like counterintuitive at first because you're just like, wait, no, why would I do that? Another piece that came up for me a lot is, there's an H. I thought overwhelm. Overwhelm looks very German or something right now. Is overwhelmed with self-care practices. So then, of course, once I started to learn all these things, then my inner critic could use that against me, and kind of be like, oh, well, you're not, doing these things enough. And, oh, you said you were going to do yoga or you're going to go to the gym and there you go, And so sometimes for several periods in my life, there would be like stress then around the things that I needed to do to take care of myself. So can you guys relate to that? I see some heads. Yeah. Yeah. So this idea is, when the anxiety shows up, we have to keep reminding ourselves and reframing and letting that inner child know who, needs to be taken care of, that yes, there is enough time for me to take care of myself. There is plenty of time for me to take care of myself. There is more than enough time to take care of myself because taking care of myself is my birthright. Feeling good, feeling at peace, feeling joy is what my centered self, what my true self is. So if I am here and I am, a child of the universe and, in this body, then I am meant to live a life where I am taking care of myself. And so, it's kind of just this reprogramming over and over again, right? Or we just keep reminding ourselves of this. Also, the overwhelm comes up when we can have competing parts of ourselves. And I still will have this come up sometimes for me where, there's this self-care part and, coming from my centered self. And then there's another part that's like, I want to, see friends and have fun. And then there's another part that's like, but I want to, work on this project. And another part that's like, I want to paint. And, how do we reconcile all of these, different needs and desires? And one of the things that I kind of mentioned is that balance comes from holding all of these parts of ourselves, a way to care for ourselves and nurture and to bring feminine energy to kind of all these little me's that have their ideas and what they want to do, is to know that each one of them has a valid desire, but also knowing that self-care is going to lead to flow and ease in all of these areas. So we can let go of expectations about what we should be doing. Even sometimes that's self-care, right? If there's a should behind it, we want to see, what's the next best thing that we can be doing for ourselves in this moment. So we always want to step back into nurturance. So even, if I can't make it to the gym or I can't make it out of the bed, instead of me beating myself up, being hard on myself about that, I'm going to practice the nurturance and the self-care by doing it with my thoughts, by saying, you know what, you don't want to get out of bed right now. You feel like crap right now. Feel like crap. Feel like crap as much as you possibly want right now in this moment. Because what happens when I allow myself to do that is that it shifts. I don't get stuck there. I'm stuck when I'm resisting it, right? So just kind of taking all of that in. So we're going to do another practice again where we're going to just do some stretching because stretching and moving the body. Obviously, when we're in our body and becoming embodied, which means we're coming out of our head, we're coming into our heart, we're feeling what's in our bodies, because we can live, from up here. And again, that's an imbalance of masculine energy if we're always up here in the analytical, right? So we want to bring ourselves down into our body, and we do that slowly. It's not something, we don't shock ourselves into our body. We do it slowly, layer by layer. So if you can, we're just going to open up the shoulders a little bit. So you're just going to lift those shoulders up to your ears and roll the shoulders back. Just lifting them up and rolling them back. And as you inhale, you're lifting them up. And as you exhale, you're rolling them back. We're just moving each shoulder, now isolating them. And you're going to just want to move to your own rhythm. That's what we mean when we're talking about intuitive, when we're talking about the flow. It's truly listening to what your rhythm is. So you're using my guidance right now as a prompt, but only you know the truth of what feels good to you. So it might be faster than the way I'm moving. It might be slower. It might change, and that's okay. So if you haven't done so already, we're taking the palms of our hands and we're going to place them onto our knees or thighs. And we're just going to move and just do some little hip circles to just open up the hips a bit more. And as you're doing this, noticing any thoughts taking you out of the moment and bringing yourself back. You can even close your eyes if that helps you connect in even more. You may want to reverse and go around the opposite way. And just notice as we're doing this that some heat starts to build already. So there's just even a tiny bit of warmth that starts to come into the body. We're moving that stuck energy around. Shaking it off. You can take your arms and just kind of make some wide circles and just shake off anything you don't need. Right, we can even feel that tension of masculine energy, when we're on the computer, right? And the arms are just like rigid, right? So the feminine energy is opening everything up. It's loose, it's expressive. It's filled up. You can feel the difference in this type of energy. There is lots of movement and we are filled with energy. Whereas when we are in that masculine energy, we're exiting out that energy into something else. So we need to receive it in. So you can even do that with your arms right now. You're like moving your arms out and you're just reaching and pulling that energy in. And you can imagine that you're pulling up the energy from the earth and you're bringing it in. So we can have grounded feminine energy, and we can even pull the energy from the sky down. So we have light, expansive feminine energy. Just taking the palms of your hand and stretching them up over your head, seeing if you can bring that heart forward, bringing your shoulder blades down onto your back. And then if you're able to, you can do a very gentle forward fold. You don't have to go far. You can just go slightly. I have my computer in front of me, so I'm not going to go very far. But this was one of those practices for me that really had transformed my life, was transforming my masculine perspective of yoga and stretching from this needing to do a pose right or needing to do it in comparison to someone else. When I had finally, after my yoga teacher training, started to really listen to my body, I noticed that it hurt to even just like forward folds. And when I really started to wake my body up and start to see that just like a slight movement brought up aches and pains and grief, this was when my whole life changed, and I started to really see that I couldn't keep overriding what I was actually experiencing in my body. So it was the slowing down, doing less, and really just letting these micro movements be really, really important. Okay. How are we all doing? We just have a little bit more of just kind of a discussion on mindset, and then we're going to go into some demos of some fun self-care stuff. So just to kind of bring it all together in regards to this softness with feminine energy, it's this idea that I'm kind of using in this class, ritual versus routine, though the words don't really matter. It's really more about the essence behind the word. So for me, ritual just has a more sort of surrendering type of vibe to it, whereas routine is just a little bit more structured. But the idea is, I also thought for the longest time, I've got to pick, a structure or routine, and I need to stick to it. That's how I'm going to feel good. That's how I'm going to take care of myself. I'm never going to get anything done if I don't, schedule my meditation, yoga, gym, every single day. And I just found that, especially as a creative person, that never worked for me. So we're going back to this idea then of bringing sacredness and intention, a softness, a gentleness into our rituals so that they can be fluid, they can be intuitive. My whole practice at the gym has changed over the years, where I literally show up at the gym and I check in with my body and I kind of see what body parts need attention. That doesn't mean that sometimes I say, okay, I don't want to neglect this area, and I kind of use my intellect to kind of take a look, but I feel so much better kind of trusting, all right, you know what, I'm just going to walk around the track this time, or I'm going to do the bike for 5 minutes and the treadmill for 5 minutes and, this weight machine, when in the past it would just have been like very, very structured. And this is something that takes practice, right? It's, it takes us time to learn what our song is. So Melody Beattie, I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but she's a really beautiful writer and has done a lot of work on codependency and self-care. And she says that our lives, self-care in our lives is like a symphony, and each instrument has to learn its part separately, right? The whole, orchestra does not come together, automatically with, all right, we're going to play it perfectly. It takes practice after practice, not only for each instrument to learn its part, but then the conductor brings everyone together. And so if you can imagine that your intuition, your centered self is the conductor, it's working with a symphony over time to find what that music is for you. Okay, so one little tip also to discover more about what it is you need is to really get clarity again on what it is that you want to feel or how you want to feel. So if you can all just close your eyes one more time and just take a moment to think of a state of being or a state of relaxed being, of feminine energy that would feel good to you. It could be joy, it could be peace, it could be release, whatever comes to mind, trust that. And I just want you to own right now that that is a state of being that you deserve. You deserve to have that. And I want you to really see if you can allow in this idea that this energy, the energy that feels good, is the ultimate nurturer within. And that you can be in 100% support of yourself and why you would want that to be a priority in your life. Knowing your self-care needs are real and are meant to be fulfilled. You are meant to feel good. You are meant to feel relaxed. These are all qualities that are your true nature. And your willingness and showing up is enough so that we can trust ourselves. We can trust all of these little baby steps that we make, that it's safe to be in our feminine energy and it is safe to receive, and that we can do this little bit by little bit as it gets easier and easier. Taking in a deep breath in, holding that, and exhaling it out. So just letting all of that mindset, reframing and work sink in, and we're going to turn things over to Miss Sarah so that she can share some more things with us about some different ideas that she has used in her world. And so as we talk about these self-care practices, it's, remembering just to kind of notice how you feel. In the past, I would watch a class or a webinar and be like, oh my God, I gotta, write down everything and do everything. But that's the beautiful thing about this feminine energy and being intuitive, is you just can listen to see if there's something that kind of tugs you, right? Gives you a little bit of a pull. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I can find, hello. Oh. Okay, here we go. Alrighty.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jen. That was so wonderful.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen now. And, hey, I guess I'm sharing, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh,
see?
Okay. I'm still, okay, I'm good, right? You
can see you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go over some things that I have learned over the years that are best for me. Like I said, I had trouble sleeping for many years, and now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't just the fact that I had been on Adderall for a long time and had I think I had some central nervous system issues from being on it. But I also used to wake up a lot. Even if I was able to go to sleep, I'd wake up and have all this kind of unprocessed data, and that happens to a lot of people. I think they'll wake up around 1 a.m., 2 a.m., like clockwork. So that happened to me for years. And I just really wanted to devote myself to having good sleep, especially after I became a mom, and I didn't sleep the first 2 years practically. So I'm very passionate about it. And so everything in my little PowerPoint presentation, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person in the world that likes to research things online and try them out. So, this is what's worked for me. So, I definitely and this is probably a no-brainer. Most people probably know this part, but, if you do find yourself being too stimulated, either when you go to sleep or after you've been asleep for 5 hours or so, just try to really have all your text conversations, in them at 7 or 8 or whatever time is good for you. Say bye to people, none of that, did they text me back? What about that one thing or whatever, try to just close the circle with all that, and put your phone away from your head, turn the Wi-Fi off, put it across the room. I know a lot of people use their phones for alarms, but that Wi-Fi next to your head all night is not good for sleep, and probably not good for a lot of other things. But put your Kindle away, your iPad, whatever is around you, so that you have at least, some space around your bed that's not full of electronics. If there's anything that you're annoyed about that day, like someone at work sent a bitchy email or whatever, that happened to me so much. I feel like that was my number one thing was email, catty emails. I'd be and then she said, blah, 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 blah. I just couldn't, it would just circle and circle and circle. And even if I wasn't involved, I just was sometimes CC'd and I'd see it and I'm and it would still replay in my mind. And I had to work on that through journaling so that I wasn't still processing it visually or however while I was going to sleep. So even if it's something as silly as just plainly writing it out in the journal, or if you have to get like aggressive about it, if there's something like, you know, intense happened at work or school or wherever, you know, just get it out before you go to sleep is good. And then if you do like to read before bed, I am very much into, I'm really into Louise Hay right now, and I've been reading You Can Heal Your Life, and it came out in 1984, which is amazing, but like I'm reading it the second time because it's so incredibly positive that I just feel so good when I go to sleep. It's like every page, I feel like the way she writes and her little affirmations and stuff, she just wrote the whole book in a really positive way. And when I'm going to sleep, it's like I want to like float away on a cloud kind of, and like have these like positive images and thoughts in my mind. So my husband likes to watch like aggressive like movies where people are dying, and like sometimes, you know, I say that, you know, he's into superhero stuff, and like that's great. And sometimes I watch that kind of stuff with him at night. But generally, I'm kind of like, you know, it's late, like I can't get like all that adrenaline, you know, because it does. You do like produce adrenaline and stuff when you're watching really intense images. So.
Oh my God. Can I just say, I don't understand. Like, it's the same thing. My boyfriend, like, it's like literally like The Walking Dead's on before we fall asleep, the superheroes, again,
it's intense.
The difference of the masculine and the feminine, because there's something with, I think, you know, for people who identify with the masculine energy, that they really get lost in action and things like that. And I, you know, the CNN's on. I'm just like, you know, like I feel my nervous system.
Yeah,
like,
don't watch the news at all. Like, I mean, don't watch it, especially not right before bed. Don't look at like, turn the alerts off on your phone, like all the like, you know, we're trained to like have our fight or flight responses just go off all the freaking time. We've got this notification and that, and like the weather, like, and then all these world events, and you're just like, like all these things are happening. And like for me, I just like am setting myself apart, and I'm trying not to be as involved. And like, I mean, how can every single person be expected to be involved and knowledgeable about everything happening in the world every day? Do you know how much happens in the world every day? Like, not one person can't take that all on. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that are so negative, and of course there's lots of positive, but like if you think about how much information we see just in our Facebook feed every day, generally, it's like it's too much. I think, you know, we're not created to like process that amount of emotional data, because it is emotional, because there are horrific things that happen everywhere. And now with like technology, I'm on a tangent. With technology, it's like you can see videos that are really disturbing and upsetting, again, just in your Facebook feed from like your cousin or whoever, you know, and you can't hardly look anywhere without, again, having that like fight or flight response of like, oh my gosh, like how do I like process this or deal with it? And so anyways, I guess
people, right? You know,
what?
Like when you're sensitive.
Right. I'm very sensitive. I mean, personally, but, and so it's okay to like let all of that fall away. It's okay to not be, you know, totally in tune with everything happening, because again, it's too much for any of us to really absorb and process. So, okay, so I'll move on. All right, so this is my little foot regimen that I came up with when I started to use, and the essential oils that I add to this are on the next screen. But essentially, I'm really into like finding things that aren't that expensive, but that are natural, and then I can buy like in bulk, like whether it's conditioner or whatever. Like I want to be able to use things liberally and not be worried about them because of the chemicals or because it's too expensive. And I feel like shea butter, like I get mine from my local grocery store, but they have it at Target, and I love this brand. I want to say this container probably lasts me at least like 4 months. I use it on my hands, my face. You can put it in your hair. Like it's the only lotion that I use. It's amazing. And it feels like, I guess you can see my screen. I mean, it feels like icing almost, you know, it's completely natural. It's from a nut, you know, it's just amazing. So I started putting this on my feet over a year ago, and it was just like my first step towards really, like, I think treating my body even better, because it felt like a luxury, you know, because it's so thick and rich, and I can put on as much as I want, and it's not like I feel bad or something because it's expensive. I can't remember how much this jar is, if it was like $12 or if it was 19, but still like 19 for this size, and it goes so far and it lasts so long, you know, but it has vitamins A, E, and F in it, and it is anti-inflammatory, so it's good for your skin. Like, even if you have pimples, you can put it on there. Like, that's all I use. It's amazing. So I put that all over my feet, my toes, and like the bottoms of my feet as I kind of prepare them for the oils that I'm going to put on. So then I put on magnesium chloride oil, which is a transdermal way of absorbing magnesium. There's like 12 different kinds of magnesium or more. I don't remember what they're all called or like what their major differences are. I don't even remember like if I saw like where I learned about this over a year ago, but this is on Amazon, and it's from this spray. The magnesium in it is from, it's like 250 million years old. It's from like 1,600 to 2,000 meters deep into the part of the earth, from a zechstein seabed in Europe. You know, it's like this trace mineral essentially, and so lots of people are deficient in this, and it can throw your melatonin out of whack if you're deficient in it. And again, there's like several different kinds of magnesium, so this is not the same as like certain magnesiums, like magnesium, I don't remember, that people take orally. This is like this like trace mineral that is like best absorbed through the skin. And so I put that on the bottoms of my feet also, because you can put it on other parts of your body, but it honestly like kind of stings a little bit because it's like salty, I guess. And so I just put like 1 or 2 squirts right, you know, over where the shea butter is, and kind of mix it in. And so then
I'm not able to see your PowerPoint changing. Can you guys see it changing? No? Okay. It's still on the setting the mood frame, just so you know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It says sharing is paused.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Well, I just won't make it full screen. So sorry, I didn't realize this whole time you couldn't see my little feet screen. Okay. So here's this is the 2 products I was just talking about. So that's like that's me prepping my feet for the essential oils I'm going to put on. Yeah, so as you can see here, it said this mineral, which a mineral is just a really tiny, tiny rock that is responsible for over 300 biochemical reactions in the body. And that's just how vitamins and minerals are. You know, if you're deficient in one thing, it can affect you in 100 different ways. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's just really simple fixes. I'm kind of obsessed with vitamins a little bit, to be honest. Okay, so then I put on essential oils on the bottom of my feet, and so I'll show you my foot real quick. I put them right here because that's where it's recommended, because there's no hair, there's no sweat glands. It just goes into your body within like 20 minutes, I think, or something. So cedarwood oil helps the production of melatonin. So I put that on, and I love cedarwood oil. It's amazing. I mean, they're all amazing. You can also diffuse it if you have a diffuser. And then there's actually several oils that are good for bedtime, but I just listed a couple here. Lavender oil can soothe inflammation, and chamomile oil can, relieve depression and reduces anger. I also included this bedtime tea that I like to drink that has chamomile in it, which I feel like drinking tea like that with just a little bit of honey it's part of like self-care, because you're like, it just feels so, to me, it feels so like a treat, so then I put like big fluffy socks on over all of this, like my little foot regimen that I developed. And so also among like my research over the years, these two things can get out of whack in people very easily, and they become deficient in them. And they're just two things that can be easily fixed and that can affect your sleep. With the B12, it affects your melatonin and circadian rhythms. And I actually try to get B12 shots, like when I can, because when I'm in Memphis, which is where I'm from, there's this place called the Shot Nurse. So you can just walk in and they'll give you one, and it's like no big deal. And my mom is a nurse, and one of her favorite stories is that, so my great-grandfather, we called him granddad. So like my grandfather's dad. So like he lived to be 96, and he died when I was little. But at some point in his life, so like when he was in his 60s, whenever that was, it could have been the 60s, like 1960s. I'm not sure when he was 60, but he was like old and not feeling well, or at that time that was old, And he went to some doctors and they were like, well, you're old, like you're dying. Like, what do you want us to do? Like they just were like, you're just old. Like, what can you do? So he kept going to some other doctors, and they finally decided he had pernicious anemia, which meant that he could not orally absorb B12. So he started having B12 shots, and he lived another 30 years. Wow. So like, yeah. So like everyone in my family always gets B12 shots. We don't know if we have pernicious anemia, but like we go to the Shot Nurse and we just get them. And so there's that. And then your vitamin D, especially this time of year, like I have had low vitamin D a few times in my life, especially whenever I move up to the Midwest. But that's something you can ask your gyno or your regular, GP to just run a blood test, and they can also give you prescriptions too. But it's just, again, it's one of those things that if it's too low, it can affect like 10 different things, but it's an easy fix, So this is what I take. I take the oral version, which is on Amazon too, the My Kind Organics, because mine was low in the fall, and I've just been taking it since, and I felt a lot better because I was very draggy, and I was like, what is going on, So, but I did read the D3 has to be taken in the morning because it temporarily can stop the production of melatonin. So it's not something you would ever want to take at night before bed. And then this is my secret weapon. So this is by Gaia Herbs, which is an amazing brand. Again, like I said, I worked at Whole Foods for 4 years, and I was just obsessed with like everything in the whole body section. And I've tried like everything, I feel like. And this company is amazing. And so this is off their website, but there's lots of herbs in here. One is called ashwagandha root, which helps your adrenal system relax, which again, the adrenal system is part of you that is going to like kind of light up whenever your fight or flight comes on. So a lot of people have adrenal fatigue because they're so just like constantly like, oh my God, at work or wherever, whatever is going on. And we don't give ourselves enough rest for that. And so this doesn't help you go to sleep, and it's not like addictive. I've been taking it for years, but it helps you stay asleep. So again, like if you wake up and you can't go back to sleep, this helps with that. And there's also passion flower in it, which helps you kind of feel, I don't want to say it's like a sedative, but it doesn't make you go to sleep. It's amazing. I highly recommend it. And it has amazing reviews on Amazon as well. Yeah. And then, let's see. Here's another recommendation for journaling if you do wake up at night, because I myself feel like I had a lot of unprocessed emotions for many years, and I had a lot, and that like basically led into a lot of anger. And then I had this whole like year, I feel like maybe I was pregnant at the time. I might have been pregnant, but still, like I would wake up and I'd be so mad about like something that happened at work every night, and I ended up journaling about it, and it was the only way I could go back to sleep. Unfortunately, like I got over all that and whatever, but it's a really helpful tool, even though you might lay there for a while. You're like, oh, I'll go back to sleep. But like when you have something keeping you up, I finally learned that according to Chinese medicine, so there's something called a meridian clock that basically shows the different parts of the body that are being detoxed throughout a 24-hour cycle. So I think the liver is like 1 to 3 a.m. and like lungs are like 3 to 5 a.m. And so if you have more coughing, or if you have more like you're waking up, or whatever time of day something's happening to you, like repeatedly, if you look at the clock, you can identify which organ is cleaning itself. And if it's got blockages, like emotional blockages, for example, we store lots of anger in our liver. And so if you do a liver detox, you can help move all that anger out. And so doing a cleanse like that would always help promote restful sleep that would last all night. So I've done a few detoxes over the years, and they're can be kind of tricky to get through, but they ultimately just help support your body's ability to rest. Because again, like with this whole class, with all of this, it's like we're not, maybe kids are now a little more, but like we weren't. I mean, I wasn't like taught how to like relax. Like you're taught how to like get up and go, like get up and go, do the thing.
I love your body language, like this whole class, because you're like totally got the essence of like this masculine energy. All this, like, yeah, and like
the thing.
Drilling things, it's like
yeah. So
so true.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay, and then I don't know if we want to have, like, if I should go through this is my unicorn meditation that I came up with, or if we should have like a Q&A first, or what do you want to do, Jen?
Yeah, why don't we, I like that. Let's take a space for seeing if anyone has any comments or questions, and, we can close with the guided meditation. And I just wanted to say, in response to what you shared, I've really found such a huge difference when I have been reading like spiritual books or like spiritual material before I go to sleep. It's like it completely shifts like my energy for sure. And I myself like essential oils. I like to use lavender at night. I really notice that makes a difference. And even right now I have my incense and my candles going and lighting, and these are all little things over the years that I just would introduce, because there was a time, and sometimes my mind will still do this. I don't know if you guys can relate to it, but it will like it's like, oh, it's so annoying. I have to go get a candle. It's like so much work, and it's like I have to kind of like be like, no, it's not. We could do this. We could do this. It's like that inner critic, at least for me, can be so extreme, so over time, all these little things. And even I think what I've noticed as well is that if we do always have to set everything up, I think that it is more likely that we're not going to do it. So I found that over time, when I have things out, like right there, like I have my jar of coconut oil next to me, or, it's like right there so I can reach for it. It doesn't give my mind time to talk me out of it. So let's just see, does anyone have anything you want to share? Or if you do, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Joyce. I think it helps. I do the same thing, Sarah. Like, if I can't sleep, I have to write it down. For me, like, I'll write like a sentence or two and I'll postpone it, because then my mind will just go crazy. So that helps me a lot. And then I think just like having multiple forms of winding down, so I don't stress out that like, oh, like I have to do this one thing at this one time. Like I kind of just like pick and choose like whatever I feel like that day. So it's just like whatever, or like I'm not stressing out about it. And Jen, what you were saying before about when it's hard to take time for self-care. For me, like I feel guilty for the days that like I'm so overwhelmed and I feel like I just need to take a day off from work. Because like you're expected to go to work, and like sick days, like you're like, oh, like I'm not like, I don't need to go to hospital, but like I have headache from like maybe crying or like thinking too much and I just like need a rest. So then I always have this battles like, should I take a sick day or should I not? And then I personally do ballet for like stress relief and enjoyment and stuff like that. And I know it's supposed to be for my own good, but sometimes I'm like, ugh, like I don't feel like going. And it's the stress of like making myself go that like makes it hard. And I just let myself not want to go. And then I just let it out. And then a lot of times I'm like, okay, like I can do it. So yeah, just commenting on the things that you guys just said.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. That's beautiful. And I love the awareness, and I love how, you know, kind of what I had mentioned earlier too about when I, you know, if I don't feel well, like when we actually listen to ourselves and kind of let ourselves have the moment, oftentimes it can shift for sure. Yeah, there's no such thing, you know, I kind of had to reframe when I used to work for corporations, you know, this personal day or the sick day is a mental health day, and that's, you know, important. I had to reframe that for myself because, you know, that's not what we're trained to look at it as. We're trained to look at it as physical. And I remember when I would like literally show up at my job when I worked in this like satellite office, like practically with the flu. I'm like wrapped in blankets, like why was I overworking and what for? Because, you know, I was still caught up in this people pleasing, and my boss wasn't like, go home. Like, he was like, all right, you want to be here? Great. And it took me like times of doing this to be like, what am I doing? You know, why am I doing this? I have the time, right? It's so interesting how caught up we can get in that pressure to, you know, please those around us or people who seem like authorities. So thank you. Thank you, Joyce.
Hey, this is Jinsey. I wanted to just thank you for everything you're saying. And one of the especially helpful things I'm hearing is the notion of protecting that sleep time. And I love that both of you have these men in your lives that have such opposite ways of wanting to go to bed. And that has been a marriage struggle. We're going on 20 years here. And my husband travels for work, and it's so sad that I sleep so much better when he is away. And then he gets kind of mad that he can kind of tell that when he's back, I'm kind of like, So I've been trying to talk to him about needing to have the screens off an hour before bedtime. And he's watching something, and please come sit next to me, come snuggle up, you know, that kind of thing. It's like a battle. And I'm still trying to figure out how to fruitfully communicate with that. So I'd love to hear that if either of you guys had some struggles with communicating that. And then the other thing I wanted to ask, which is completely different, is the whole deal about emotions in our hips, because I've been struggling with left hip pain. And I had a yoga teacher tell me that is more associated with the maternal side than anything else, and that I was probably processing grief in my maternal relationship, either with my daughter, I have 2 daughters, or with my mom. And I'm guessing that maybe both are contributing to that, but I still haven't figured out how to really release those blocks. So if you guys have any insight on that, I'd love to hear it too.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Those are such great, I was laughing when you were sharing about the sleeping, because that's one of like the areas of conflict for my boyfriend and I, because we're completely opposite sides of the spectrum temperature wise. He like runs freezing and I run hot, and so literally he sleeps we have the hottest, like heaviest down comforter like imaginable. Like I bought it by accident. I was like, I wanted to return it, and he was like, no, I love this. So I'm like sleeping on top of the comforter. He's underneath with 3 blankets, and I'm like on top in a tank top and shorts.
Yep.
And you know, it's definitely one of these areas of like trying to find a balance, because he's finding that he was trying to not keep the screen on, and he finds that right now, at least, that helps him fall asleep, having CNN on in the background. And so we've tried some things with headphones where what we're doing right now is I have these silence canceling headphones. And so I put them on, and you turn the switch on, and it kind of mutes the noise. It's not 100%, but it mutes it. And I can always send you the link to that if you want to check them out.
You're going to sleep in those?
I have fallen asleep in them, but they're big. So normally what'll happen is you
I
know.
know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. I'm having a hard time imagining having my head
Yeah.
on a pillow with this.
But
But
what
it's an idea. Thanks.
Yeah, it's an idea. And what happens is he'll usually fall asleep before me. So we have like lights on like this in our bedroom, and the TV will be on, but I'll put the headphones on and I'll plug it into my iPad and I'll put on like some waves crashing. That seems to really drown out the like white noise, and I'll read. And so I'll kind of do my ritual where I'm like reading my spiritual book and I have the headphones and I've got it, and he'll turn down the TV enough so that I can't hear it. And so that's been working a little bit. And then like as soon as he falls asleep, I turn it off. And then I also like to use an eye mask. I forgot I was going to bring mine, but I love to have an eye mask now. Even there's just something that's soothing on my eyeballs, where just kind of they can go to rest. And that also helps if like he wants the TV on and I do want to go to sleep. I'm also a big, like, lots of pillows and kind of like cover myself in them. But the headphones is one of the things that has been kind of life changing for us, because I can't take all of the action and violence.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I did talk him into using headphones while he was watching videos on his iPad.
Okay.
Sometimes.
All right.
Doesn't always work, but I'm actually, because I really can't even stand the feeling of earplugs in my ears, and I think I'm just a little bit oversensitive that way, but I couldn't fall asleep with it now, so I was like, you do the headphones.
Right. Yeah. It's a balance of finding it. And, we got also, I had gotten him these Bluetooth headphones where it actually connected to the TV with an adapter. So that worked for a little while, because right now we have like a new like setup, and so they're not working. But that was helpful because he could listen through the TV with the headphones. And then also, we were just trying kind of different headphones. And I give myself to do it because I have a friend with the same exact issue where her husband's always watching, action and violence, and she's like, very about the quiet and goes on these 7-day silent meditations. And so she's like, try this out. She's like, it helps us.
Yeah, we don't ever like have any conflict about it. Like if I'm just like, I'm gonna read my Kindle, and he puts his headphones on and he's like completely 100% happy, like, and I'm happy in my little Kindle world, so it works for us, and then if there's something we wanted to watch together sometime, like it's usually more of like a documentary type thing or whatever. But I was going to say about your hips, Jency, you might want to look into a book called The Emotion Code. It's by a man named Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he's a chiropractor. And so the whole book is about trapped emotions, which so he says, like the different parts that, your emotions like are generated in your trunk. If you feel like sorrow or like shame or, excitement, like you feel it in your trunk. Like you might register it in your brain, like, oh, I feel this way. But like the actual like feeling is, in your trunk. And he says it's because each organ is responsible for creating a different vibration in order for the human body, like as a vehicle, essentially, to experience that emotion, like in this world that we're in. So, you're meant to experience emotions and then they leave. Like you don't keep experiencing them like all the time. But he says most people have things, that happen in life and whatever, and the emotions get stuck. And so then when they're stuck inside you, that vibration, because the same organs in all people make the same vibrations. So like the lungs, they generate grief. The bladder, I think, generates shame, like, or unworthiness. Like there's all these different organs that are generating these different frequencies, and they're the same in each human. Because again, it's part of like our emotional and body templates. So anyways, they can become trapped. And when they become trapped, we resonate with them much quicker. So if you already have like resentment in you, it's almost like if you have a tuning fork set at one vibration, and you put that tuning fork up against a piece of glass or a window, that glass is then going to vibrate at the same frequency as that tuning fork. So if it's already within you, you can quickly start to resonate with what's already in you. You know, that's why some people, I think, like, have such short fuses. Like, they can just go there so quickly. So anyways, his work, I think, is amazing, and it's been incredible for my life. And sometimes
Bradley Nelson.
Yes, the book is called
Thank you.
The Emotion Code. So he teaches you how to
Fascinating.
them on yourself using a magnet, essentially, which I know sounds like almost too good to be true, but it's really amazing. He's helped a lot of people with their physical ailments as well as like emotional. And sometimes if you have a weak spot in the system, like I've had knee surgery 3 times. So like that's a weak spot in my meridian system, in my physical system. You can accumulate more than one trapped emotion there if they don't stay in that organ, because again, it's like the path of least resistance. So, I mean, I feel like it's everything is the work that he does. So,
I love that. I love thinking about the organs in that way. And I found, I know we're going a little long, so I'll be brief, but a lot of my healing experience has been around opening up my hips. And I have to say that opening them up it's at least been a 2 to 3 year process. I think that everything I was doing before then was leading up to it, but you know, if we think about the hips being, you know, such a major factor in our fight or flight response. So think about it. When we want to, when we get scared, what's the reaction? The reaction is to run, right? That's what the body wants to do. So in my experience, I couldn't escape you know, being a child, you know, you're kind of stuck, right? Where your environment is. So there was so much of my body that I was shutting down in my hips and my legs that I didn't even realize that, you know, I kind of lost like power over them because they were so locked. So as I was truly listening to my body, I started to do yin every day. And it became a necessity because as I started to become more mindful, my legs started to wake up and I started to get actual like muscle convulsions because it was like my body was like waking up for the first time. It is extremely painful. Luckily, I've been able to have this perspective that the pain coming up is because it's actually my body is waking up and it's being healed. And so over time, I've noticed the pain traveling up and down the body into different locations where it's actually kind of back into the hip area in a kind of different location. But I think that, you know, I have definitely heard from other yoga practitioners that the hips are like a real bitch to open up. They're like one of the most difficult places because they are the crux of our fight or flight response. Just like the shoulders can be too, right? When we want to run, everything's like gripping together. But, you know, my suggestion would be to be gentle, you know, with yourself, of course, and to just know that that part of your body is just, you know, wanting to be heard and wanting to, you know, share with you something. So, you know, there's meditations and things that I do that help me get in touch with, you know, what might be the part of myself that's there. So it sounds like you have some insight about maybe what might be coming up there. And I would trust that, Jinsey, because I've found that in my own healing that my intuitive, you know, whatever your story is, your healing story, whatever your meaning is, it's true, you know, because it's coming up for a reason. I think there's a difference between analyzing and knowing, right? So it's that practice in knowing. If you're saying, oh, hey, there's something coming up here with my mother and my daughters, I mean, yeah, of course, you know, why wouldn't that be coming up? I think that makes a lot of sense. So I think it's trusting those messages and then taking it that next step further and you know, knowing that it's okay, that it's not something that's solved overnight. Even though I would love it, there's parts of me that would love it if this pain would go away. I know that the alternative would be for me to be more restricted and locked in my body. So I'm going for the ride, you know, as it opens. And, because of that opening several years ago, I became an abstract painter. So I never knew that I was. So that was all locked in.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I was just gonna second Jen really quick. I don't Jincy, have you done yin yoga? So like
Well, I heard you say I did yin every day, and my cousin was actually telling me about yin yoga last week.
Because like when I did body scans, I noticed my left hip, like I don't have pain, but like I would notice that's one of the places I notice I get tension when I'm stressed out. So then I started Googling it and I looked into yin yoga, and it helps to like literally take an hour to nurture your hips. So when you mentioned yin, I was like, yes, that does work.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. And what about this magnet idea? Do I just go to the refrigerator and grab a magnet?
I have a special magnet that I use that was like $7 on Amazon. But in the book, he essentially teaches you how to muscle test yourself, which is basically like communicating with your unconscious self and asking yourself yes/no questions. And then he has an emotion code chart that lists like it could be like 60 different emotions and the organs that they correlate to. So you yes/no on the chart, and then you're able to isolate what the emotion is, and then you can ask your body like, can I release this now? And if the answer is yes, then you swipe the magnet. It's like stripping information from a credit card, essentially. Like you swipe it down. I know it sounds so crazy, but I've been doing it for 7 years.
No,
and
I learned about that yes/no thing last year, and it is wild.
Yeah. Yes.
Accurate.
So you're just communicating with yourself on what's stuck, and then you're using the magnet, and your governing meridian starts at the top of your lip and goes to the back of your spine, and it's your major meridian. And so you just swipe it 3 times, and then you ask, like, did we release the emotion? And if it's yes, then you keep going. Most people have like 18 or more, and then he gets into deeper subjects like inherited emotions or the heart wall. Most people like build a wall around their heart with emotions, and it's amazing. Like
this is all resonating, unfortunately, so I think I have a lot of work to do. I'm going to order that book tonight.
Just get the book and read it, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. And the great thing about it is you can just do it yourself, and you can be intuitive and figure out what's going on within you. I do it all the time still. Like I always think like, because sometimes I can't tell like, are things coming up because I repress them so well sometimes, or is this like a current thing? But I never had, I'll put it this way. When my husband proposed to me, he used the magnet on me, like as a sign of like, okay, you're weird and crazy, but like, I'm with you.
I'm in.
Yeah. Like,
I support your weirdness.
He's a very like rational, normal, like corporate America person, And I'm over here like,
do we all have those?
I'm like, they need the magnet. I used to take my coworkers to Whole Foods into the nursing closet. I'm like, look, just stand still, okay? Just trust me. Like, this is gonna be great.
Awesome.
I love it. I love having some new tools from you guys.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my gosh. Well, this has just been so awesome.
My hip was actually waking me up last night. Like that was the first time that it woke me up in the middle of the night. I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure you will.
I was like, bedtime rituals, here I come.
Yeah. Well, we're so glad that you guys joined us. This is like really more than I expected. It's just so nice. And I just love you guys participating and sharing with us. And I know that we're already like an hour and a half in. So I guess my suggestion would be maybe that if you could guide us through the meditation as a closing, and we can kind of sign off from there.
Okay. All right. So I came up with this meditation myself, like not I didn't even mean to. It just happened. Like that's all I knew to say. And it was this past fall, and I honestly, like my natural path had said that I was very depleted in source energy, and that was still from when I gave birth to my daughter, because it was such a traumatic experience because I had an emergency C-section and all this stuff happened, that she just said I never recovered like my source energy from that. So part of this, I think I developed because I wanted to like find a way in the wintertime up here in Ohio, like to nourish myself with that source energy. And so this is what I came up with. And I also should have played some music for you guys, what I usually play. So I might just play it very lightly in the background while I guide you through this. This is my new favorite little album called Vibrational Healing. I think it's like $6 or something, and you get like all these songs. So I'll just play this really quick, and I won't make it too loud because that way you can hear me.
Great.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to have everyone close their eyes and breathe in. You know, get relaxed. Take a deep breath. Now I want you to find a place in your memory in your childhood that was outdoors that you loved. So maybe it was a vacation spot. Maybe it was like a lake house or a cabin at camp, but somewhere when you were young that you just loved to be, and you felt nourished in that environment, and you felt like it was just this magical place. So I want you to imagine yourself there, and you're in this beautiful white flowing gown that's kind of sparkly, and you just feel so elegant and peaceful in. And I want you to imagine yourself barefoot in this dress, walking in this very, very special place. And you're walking along, and you go through a fence, a gate. You walk through a gate, and you walk out into a field. And you see a big round stone in front of you on the ground, a flat stone. And so you take your bare feet and you put your bare feet on this stone, and you can feel the stone on your bare feet. And you look around you. It's a beautiful day. And you see 7 white unicorns come out from the woods. And they come out and they encircle you. And each one of them, they all have horns because they're unicorns. Each one of them represents a different chakra, essentially. So even though they're white, one of them has red energy that comes out of its horn. One has orange energy, for the root chakra and the sacral chakra and the solar plexus. The heart is green. Your throat is blue. Your crown chakra is purple. And I want you to imagine that each one of these unicorns that's encircling you is giving you the exact frequency that you need the most. So all these colors, these rainbow colors, are coming out of each unicorn individually into you, and you're absorbing all of these amazing frequencies that your body needs, that your soul needs, that your mind needs, just whatever it is, it's perfectly going into place in your energetic field. Anything that you're lacking or needing. And so in this, you feel so supported and so nourished, and all of your chakras are lighting up and spinning beautifully, and you are just completely filled up with all of this love and guidance and nourishment. And like I said, anything that you're lacking, you're now filled up with. And there's no negativity at all. You're completely filled with all these beautiful colors. And sometimes I even honestly kind of like float up a little bit and kind of spin around in the air. And then you come back down and you thank all of the unicorns for giving you, their energy and their specific specialty, so to speak. And you give back to them, a blessing, and like I said, send them on their way with gratitude. And you come back into yourself, and you walk away from this experience being all the more uplifted with that source energy from the universe. So yeah, I guess you can open your eyes. I've never done a guided meditation before, but this, like, it just came to me, so it's helped me a lot, I feel like.
So beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay. So let's see. I just want to, if you wouldn't mind stopping.
Oh, right.
No problem. I just wanted to bring up how if you guys had any questions or wanted to reach out to us about anything we talked about, I can bring up our contact info. I'm sure you guys probably have our info if you found us on here, but just so that you can get it again, let's bring back this guy. And then, okay. So I think I missed your email addresses, but you can obviously find them on our websites. And here's just our social media in case you guys wanted to ask us about something that we talked about tonight, or, there was a lot of suggestions and, things to kind of try. And yeah, this has just been so lovely and so great. So, I just want to thank you all for joining us, and look at my light machine. Woo! So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. It's been so wonderful.
Yay!
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you guys. I'm ready for bed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful night.
See you on Insta.
Yes. Have a lovely night. Thank you so
you.
much.